Hello, my name is Willie White. I am back again with a reaction to another Orange Couch series, which was a very refreshing interjection in the middle of all of this. A male by the name of Reece shared his testimony about living in South Africa, and just another side, another view of the culture of violence that must persist there. There was a grooming experience from during his childhood in an all boys school where um, that age old saying, "What's done here stays here," one of those in house homes of abuse monologues that keep our families trapped in the inability to speak out and the inability to change. When we are told that being a part of an inner circle, being a part of a clique, that things that go on inside of that place are not to be shared outward. Even in this situation, as this male speaks, this openly straight male speaks about the culture of abuse that he grew up in as a result of being connected to the soccer sporting event, and that is, or a sporting team. That is also one of those places where the male bonding experience is something that we look to as we grow and we mature and we matriculate through school, that if done right has the ability to help us transition into a different personality, into the parts of our personality that are usually or can be left underdeveloped. But as Reece talked about, going into the military being something that was, which I caught, I hope that anyone who watches this, he says, as a white male in South Africa, you must go into the military. That is your next phase of development. And that was interesting. That was a learned statement for me today. And but even in that process, he went into another culture, another boys club, another boys school, another one of those men fraternities where things happen in the dark of night that shape us and are not spoken of in the light of day. And these messages, it seemed to be a part of the culture that he grew up in and that he was groomed in. Also, what was another portion of this particular experience was alcohol, the over abundant use of alcohol. He didn't really speak of it as though there was problematic use, except for the fact that there were two blackout use experiences where he had some very violent trauma that happened to him during his periods of intoxication. And so, as a drug and alcohol clinical administrator, my red light indicators go off, and one of the definitions that we use is continued use in the presence of negative consequences as just one of those rules of thumb. But the negative consequences that Reece experienced while inebriated was very, very traumatic for him. So I don't want to downplay the trauma of the abuse in relationship to the substance use. Looking at being raped by men and being a straight male and being thrust into a place where you feel that your voice does not exist because who is going to believe you because of a certain circumstance that led up to. That is, rape is about power. It is not about gender or preference. Rape is about power. And so we understand that and we know that. And in that split second, this man's power was taken away from him. And he did what millions of male victims of rape do. He stuffed it. He stuffed it on the inside, and then he moved on with his life. He didn't speak of any of the other circumstances that could have potentially happened as a result of that: high blood pressure, high stress, suicidality, depression. All of these are side effects of suppressed emotions, suppressed, undealt with trauma. And as a result of his being in a nurturing relationship with his wife, he had the ability to work through that. He says he just happened to wind up in a situation where there was some psychological counseling. Counseling for these types of issues, period, is a suggestion that many of us need. Counseling is not something to be ashamed of. If we have issues, why not take our issues to professionals who have the ability to help us navigate the minefield of our emotions? And as Reece is a living testament that he was able to not only come through that with the support of his family, he was also able to establish an organization that is helping other male survivors of South African male survivors of sexual abuse. And kudos to Reece for coming out as a victor, more than a survivor, being a conqueror.